Hello, I am going to turn our presentation into a video and walk through the different pictures like I do when I'm at a church, and this will be for those who maybe want to see it but haven't been to one of our supporting churches, haven't been able to see the presentation. This is what we are showing to our churches now in 2024. Hope you enjoy it, and I will put a separate audio on each one of the pictures. Here we go. You see two QR codes up there. First of all, thank you for watching the presentation. But the QR code on the left is for our weekly video reports. If you really want to be close to the ministry and know what's going on, then that would be the way to do it. Go on, use that QR code to go to the YouTube channel. And then if you subscribe, of course, you'll get notifications. And then on the right, there's another QR code that goes to our CTS, our Counting the Stars webpage, which has all kinds of different information. You can write us by email and see pictures and access devotionals and so forth. So those two QR codes, hope you'll use them and benefit from the stuff we put up there. As the slide shows, this is a picture from 1997. Our four children. David is in the middle, top. He was born in the States during deputation. And then Danny, Mark has the track in his hand, and Rachel were born in San Sebastian, in the capital of our province in the Basque country. I will talk more about them later, but there they are in the picture helping me fold and count tracts when in the 90s we did a lot of tract distribution. We have a number of co-workers. These are our Mexican co-workers who've been with us the longest, since the 90s. That's Juan and Tete Alvarez from Cuernavaca, Mexico. Now I'm going to show you a few pictures of the early days of the ministry. That is in 2000. The Lord took us to the interior of the Guipúzcoa province, and we were there. This was 8 years into the ministry, and that was our little church group. Most of those in the picture are missionaries, so we had very, very little fruit in those early years. Here again, this is 2002, 10 years later, and you can see we still have a tiny, tiny little group, only 2 or 3 or 4 believers at that point. And here is a picture taken from this year. You can see the Lord has hugely blessed, many people saved, baptized, some coming from backgrounds. Many of them are immigrants from Eastern Europe or from Latin America. And that we had to go to a new building, much larger, so we rent this building in an industrial park. This is a picture from our weekly Saturday morning men's Bible study. And we started this in January of 2023. And we have breakfast at 9:30, and then we have some prayer and then Bible study at 10 o'clock. Go for an hour studying through the book of 1 Samuel. On Sunday mornings, after a breakfast that everybody is invited to, we have divided sessions, the women and the men, and then the different ages as well. And this is me teaching the ladies one Sunday this last year. The young man in the pulpit is Walted. He's one of our men from our church who loves the Lord, has a very difficult family situation, but he loves to preach, loves the Word. And here he is at the Seaport Baptist Church. I'll tell you a little bit more about this later, but this is the church that our son David, our oldest son, he and his wife and their children, they are there pastoring this little church plant up on the coast near San Sebastian. And in this particular Sunday, one of our men was filling in for David for a reason I can't remember. Oh, I'm just seeing that the picture was taken during COVID. Everybody has masks on. These are some of Mimi's flute students, and I'm not sure if you're going to hear the sound on the flute or not. But anyway, that's what she's teaching these two young ladies, and they're already starting to play in the services. I'm recording this in October, and the picture was taken back in September when we baptized these 4 adult believers. It was an exciting time. We've had several baptism Sunday or Saturdays this year, and each of these has a wonderful story of grace that God has done in them, and they're here taking the Lord's or obeying the Lord's command to get baptized. This is the 300-year-old farmhouse God gave us in 2000. If you have never read the book, The Ayer the Miracle, you can get it on Amazon. Very cheap, very reasonably priced. And it'll tell you the story of how God gave us this place, which now we use around the clock, well, not around the clock, around the year, for all kinds of different ministries. That's the way it was when we got it. My parents, who were in Spain for over 40 years, were heavily involved. Dad was very heavily involved in remodeling the farmhouse entirely from inside and out. The only thing original are the rock walls. Everything else, roof, all of the inside interior, every single thing has been redone over the years through mission teams. Much of the work has been done through mission teams, but about 16 years during 16 years, my dad, in the last 16 years they were here, he would come out, he would drive an hour and come out and work on the farmhouse. And if it weren't for all of that, we would not be able to do what we do today. Here's a picture from the other side of the valley. You can see right in the middle of the picture, you can see the farmhouse. And then there's a building up behind it, a smaller one, like a barn. But the farmhouse is right there in the middle with a little bit of snow on the ground. This is a slightly zoomed in of the same picture. You can see a little bit better there. Here you can see what the geography is like where we live. And if you look at the bottom right of the picture, you'll see an orange spot there. That is the roof of our farmhouse. And this is the Arranoites mountain peak. And we have taken hundreds and hundreds of people up here on this hike to look over the valley, see the farmhouse down below, and then about halfway up on the right, you see parts of a little town. That's the town that Mimi and I live in. We've been there for over 30 years, and it's a little town of 1,500 people. One of the many towns that our church has believers coming in from. The church is about 10 miles from here, down the valley, and some bigger towns, but it's surrounded by a lot of little towns like ours. This is Thegama. The farmhouse isn't the church building, never has been, but we do use it for all kinds of activities. This was back in the early days when we had just purchased it. God had just given it to us, and we brought our little church family out here and had a service or something. I can't remember. It was a long time ago. You can see the old walls, the old doors. In fact, when we got it, the animals came in and out, horses and sheep. So, yeah, it needed a ton of work. I like to emphasize how when the Lord takes over something, it changes. And he does that with lives. When the Lord takes over a life, His grace makes a completely new life. And so this section is one of the parts of the farmhouse where the cattle came in. You can see the trough on the left, and there's one on the right that's not in the picture, but this would house, I don't know, 20 to 25 cattle at any given moment. So it was a dining room for cattle. And now it is also a dining room, but slightly of different use. The next picture will show you what that is. Well, you can see that here are about 70 people who are having breakfast. I think it's breakfast, judging by what's on the table. And this is at one of our intensive institutes, which is an all-day event of Bible teaching. And so all that room that you saw before that had mountain manure ground is completely changed. Concrete poured, tile, the walls, the ceiling, the lights, the fancy woodwork, all of that was done by help from teams and others who came to help us turn it into a dining room, but not for cattle, for people. And it's used in all of our activities. This is where we eat. And as another illustration of the changes in the farmhouse, there are 10 different rooms. And I showed you first the one down below this floor, which was the dining room. This is up above the dining room. You can see the tile on there that have come off of the roof. We were doing the roof job. This was in the early years, obviously. And this is, we obviously put a new roof on it. And the next picture will show you what this is now. It's called the Abraham room. And if you read the story of the Ayer the Miracle, then you'll know why we call it the Abraham room. But here's, we'll go to the picture now of what we use it for. Here you can see at one of our intensive institutes, we have several of these a year, as many as 4 or 5 sometimes. And it is an all-day affair. It's an all-day Bible study, 5 hours mixed in with meals and so forth. And so this is the Abraham room where we have Bible teaching anytime in any of the activities, be it retreats or whatever we have. This is usually where we have the Bible teaching. So this is the Abraham room. The very same room that was in the previous picture, but changed, as every other part of the farmhouse has been too. One of the ministries that we never ever saw coming. It just landed in our laps, so to speak. And it happened at the early years of the farmhouse, and around the year 2000, were mission teams. And so this is we have had over 75 mission teams through the years. The Lord used them to help us rebuild the place, but they also served in many other ways. And so every summer, except through COVID, every summer we have 2, 3, 4 mission teams. They can be youth teams, musical teams, adult teams, mixed adult, anything. All kinds of different groups come through, and we have a blast. They are a blessing to us, and we try to be a blessing to them. And again, it was a ministry that we never ever even thought about, but it just happened, and it became larger and larger until now. Why every summer we do several of these. Another yearly event we have is the Missionary Teen Retreat. This one was from last year, a Missionary Teen Retreat 18, and we bring in a preacher, pastor, missionary from somewhere else. Normally they're pastors from the States who come in. And this is every December, the first week of December. The missionary kids come from all over Europe. And so we have any number, usually we have 6, 7, 8 countries represented. And on Sunday, this picture is taken on the Sunday of the retreat, because they present a multilingual concert, and they'll sing Christmas hymns in all the languages that are represented. Very, very neat. Our people love it. It's a lot of fun. And so this was from last year, and we're looking forward to this year's. We have Rand Hummel coming in early December, and there's already some young people signed up for that one. one of the yearly projects that we have is the Gospel Postcard Project. This goes out every Christmas. These are Gospel Christmas cards, and they are in two languages. They're in Spanish and Basque, and they always have a very brief message of the gospel, invitation for people to visit the church website or to visit the church. And these go out, this year they'll be going out to 50,000 homes. And if you're interested in being a part of the project, you can sponsor one of the towns that these will go into, and they will go into every home. So there are little towns of 50 people, there are large towns with 10,000, and you can follow the project on the website, and you can sponsor a town and pay for all of the expense for the printing and the postage for these different towns. So if you're interested in that, go to the website using that QR code at the beginning that I showed you the first slide, and you can click and catch up and see what's going on with that project this year. We have a number of retreats and special activities throughout the year, apart from the ones I've mentioned and also the mission teams. We have an apologetics retreat, and in this picture you can see there in the Abraham room, our son David is teaching this class. I don't know if it was last year or the year before, but our sons help us with the teaching in these apologetics retreats. These are three of our young people, and I would appreciate your prayers for them if you'd like. They are growing up. They have good testimonies, but live in a completely secular society. And the one on the left is Soad. The one in the middle, the young man, is Iñaki. And the one on the right is Bea. And they all serve in church, but would really appreciate your prayers for them as they live out their week surrounded by completely ungodly atmosphere and culture. Thank you. In this picture, Mimi is in the middle, and on the right, to her left, on your right, is Madeline Dodgens, who's one of our co-workers. She and Mike have been with us for quite a number of years already. But the lady in the red, her name is Esther. She's actually from Bolivia, but she lives in a city about an hour away and has quite a trip to come to church on Sundays. But just recently, from her city, we've had a few other believers start coming. Well, some were saved, some weren't. And so we're dealing with them, and it very much looks like the Lord is going to allow us to start a Bible study in the city of Vitoria, which is the capital of a province next to us. And Lord willing, that'll be another church plant. So we're excited about that. These are our four children. Our first son, David, is on the right there, and next to him is Danny. He's our second. And then Rachel is our youngest, and she's of course, our daughter. And now all of these, Mark is on the last one. All of our children are married, and we have 9 grandchildren. So God has blessed us hugely. Of these 4, David, I think I might have said this, David was born in the States while we were on deputation in 87. And the other 3 were born in San Sebastián, the capital city of our province there in Spain. This is David, our oldest. He married Raquel. Raquel is a Spanish pastor's daughter from the Mediterranean coast. They have 3 children, Lede, Sophia, and little Aiden, and they are in the Seaport Baptist Church. In that church plant, David is the pastor there. They've been there for several years, and the church has started to grow. It was a tiny, tiny little group of believers, and now they're having already some good attendance. People are being saved, becoming faithful. And so if you want to pray for them, and if you want any information about their ministry, you can also get that at our website at the countingthestars.org website. This is our second son, Danny, and he married Jordan, and they have Clara and Gabe. And they live 3 miles from us, and Danny is very involved in our ministry, in the church ministry, as well as the Ayerdi ministries, and he inherited my dad's construction gene, and oh my goodness, he has all kinds of projects going. Solar panels up there. He runs almost everything from his phone, and he plays the piano at church, and he preaches, and just both the family is very involved in our ministry, and we're delighted to have one of our sons close by. This is our son Mark, and he married Andrea. Andrea is an MK, missionary kid. Her parents are missionaries and pastoring on the Mediterranean coast as well. David and Maribel Bell. Some of you may know them. They've been married for a few years and live in Greenville and are faithful at their church. Mark has a good job. Well, both of them have good jobs, and we're very grateful that they also are faithful in their church. And this is our daughter, Rachel. She married Ethan, and they have 4 children. They live about an hour south of Greenville. Again, are faithful in their church and raising a wonderful family, wonderful children, and are a blessing to us. So those are our 4 children, David, Danny, Mark, and Rachel, for whom we are very, very grateful. God has blessed them immensely, and us as well. These are my parents. Mimi and I just traveled last week to Washington State, and my parents live with one of my brothers there in Snoqualmie. And so Mom and Dad, Al and Helga Bonikowski, they were church planting missionaries here in this province for, I think it was 42 years. And they left, I believe it was 9 or 10 years ago, and they're retired now. Live with, like I said, with my brother who works at Microsoft. Dad had lymphoma, cancer, has it. Was diagnosed just about a month ago, 2 months ago, and he's had some chemo treatments. He's doing fairly well, has some tremendous fatigue, but other than that, he's doing well, great attitude. And so Mimi and I were able to visit Mom and Dad for just about 5 days last week. Thoroughly enjoyed it, had a lot of fun, just made the most of every moment. This is Dad Allen, Flay Allen. Some of you may know of him or have met him. And on the left, as you look at the screen, on the left is Mimi and her twin, Becky, on the other side. And Dad had an ear surgery a few weeks ago when we snapped this picture. Mimi has her twin sister and then older sister Debbie, in whose house we live when we're here on furlough. Dad Allen is retired, of course. He and Mom Allen, who died, I think it was 4 years ago now, they were on the mission field, I think, for close to 60 years. And were definitely married for, I think it's over 60 years. I can't remember the exact numbers now. But she passed on, and he continues to be very active. He's 90 years old and still head of a mission board and travels a bunch. And it's always good to see him on furloughs because we stay here at Debbie's place, Mimi's sister, and Dad Allen lives just about 200 yards down the street. not sure what this is going to do, if it's going to record over the music, but this was taken just a week before we came on furlough. It's our congregation singing right after they have a fellowship time. That last video was taken just a week before we came to the States for this furlough. It gives you an opportunity to see the congregation singing just after they were greeting each other between stanzas. And you can see our building and just a tiny little piece of one of our Sunday services. So thank you for watching, and trust it was a blessing. If you have any questions, let me know. You can write me, text me. There's several ways to do that if you go to the website. Okay, God bless you. Goodbye.